Blue Lock is my favorite anime in recent history due to the many themes of the show that correlate with aspects of self-improvement. In this video, I'll document Isagi's journey through Blue Lock and how he's improved himself at every avenue. I'll also be talking about how we can incorporate this into our own lives. Before Isagi even enters the Blue Lock Dome, he loses his chance to play at Nationals due to his teammate's flub. After this event, everyone on his team is crying except for him. In the subsequent talk where the coach tries to comfort everyone, Isagi stands alone, not being emotional. Everything the coach says sings sweet nothings to him. They tried and they lost. But for Isagi, losing isn't a moment to become sad. It's a moment to keep your focus and work on becoming better. Losing is an opportunity for you to learn from your mistakes and try new things for the next time. This is the first lesson from the anime that comes in just 5 minutes into the episode. Use your losses as a way to motivate you to become better. And I believe that this is why Isagi jumps at the opportunity to enter Blue Lock after Igo's spellbinding speech. It's not only a departure from his previously held conception of soccer, but it's a place for optimal development. Isagi knows that he will become a better soccer player as he enters Blue Lock, and he bets everything on that intuition. When Isagi first entered Blue Lock, he plays a game of soccer hot potato. He has to ensure that he is not the last person to touch the ball before the game ends. In this event, he could have defeated Igarashi, the monk, but he decided to go after someone else. Isagi set up bigger goals for himself that pushed him to become stronger. He knew that if he kept punching down, he would never develop. In the book Endure, it talks about how our outlook and goals can determine where we aim, and when you aim higher, you often reach higher. Our view of the world is shaped by our vision, and our vision determines our will. We need to focus our vision in maximizing the opportunity to acquire that which we want. Isagi wants to become the best, so he can't focus on the people below him. So even when given the chance to pounce on someone lower than him and ensure his continuation, he scouts the stronger guys and attacks them. There's only one way to the top, it's to defeat all those ahead of you. Isagi is someone who sees challenge as an opportunity to become better and overcome his rivals.
In order to change, I have to be something I'm not. I came here to turn things around, to become the best in the world!
See, we fantasize about learning that new skill, reading that book, lifting those weights, but we don't do it because we're too afraid to leave our comfort zone. We are ensnared within the comforting confines of our familiar routines, shackled by the fear of stepping beyond those boundaries. We are too afraid to challenge ourselves to become better. To overcome this, you have to understand that in the wide variety of human activity, achievement is not possible without discomfort. So as we progress, we move to the first match against Baro's team. Isagi is initially incredibly intimidated by Baro. This match goes to show just how much progress Isagi has left before he's able to become a top player. In the second match at Blue Lock, we see a rivalry between Isagi and Nico. Both Isagi and Nico have an incredible ability to read the field. They both have amazing spatial awareness. What separates Isagi and Nico in this game is in how they choose to use their abilities. Isagi uses his abilities to bolster his team, but he also creates opportunities for himself. Isagi doesn't just want to win, he wants to make sure that his name is etched in the psyche of everyone's mind. He doesn't want to be the guy who passively sits back and relies on his teammates. He wants to be someone of both dominant conviction and intelligent leadership. In other words, Isagi wins because he is more of a selfish egoist than Nico. Within the vast realm of human aspirations, there are more people fighting for the prize than there are prizes in themselves. There are usually more prizes than there are players. This means that you will have to do something in order to stand out, and this will require you to put yourself first sometimes. This may mean that you have to be a bit selfish sometimes to make yourself stand out.
Our game? I lost because of your goal, but it gave me the push I needed. Instead of holding back and only passing to others, I started taking shots myself.
Nothing really happens in the alligator team for Isagi, but I think that this is a good time to talk about how Isagi turned 0 into 1. Previously, Igo talks about how players need to create a 1 out of 0, to create something out of nothing. In the context of the show, it means to have one striker stand out among the rest. Igo is calling the players to undergo a significant change in their mentality, skills, and approach to the game. He's calling them to transcend their current level of play, discard any self-doubt or mediocrity, and strive for greatness. By doing so, they can transform themselves from being an ordinary 0 to an exceptional 1, to become a player who can make an exceptional impact on the field. I think Isagi meaningfully adds on to this by theorizing how the players of the team can build around that 1. This is actually pretty clever because when you take the metaphor literally, nothing can multiply by 0 and create anything other than 0. This is saying that unless you have a strong striker, no one on your team can really do anything. But if that striker is able to turn 0 into 1, then it gives your team something to work with and multiply. In other words, the entire team relies on an exceptional striker. This is the insight that led to the development of Team Z's many tactics. Essentially, they would rotate one central striker and have the rest of the team build off of that. In the match against the Alligator Twins, Isagi's determination and talent was the catalyst from turning 0 into 1 and motivated the rest of his team to train harder in the practice sessions. All except Chigiri. But in the game against the Alligator Twins, once Chigiri finally acknowledges Isagi's motivation and determination, he breaks the chains, turns on the jets, speeds past everyone and scores a goal. This could similarly be applied to our own lives by having our own weapons, so to speak, and developing things around it. So this means having a focus that aligns with your strength and building all of your knowledge and successive experiences around it. Right after the match, Ego talks to Team Z about the importance of replicating goals in soccer. Every top striker knows where, when, and how he was able to produce a goal and works repeatedly to commit that to memory. This could be applied to our own lives. The replicability of goals essentially breaks down big tasks into smaller bits. So whatever goal you have, break it down into small digestible forms. Develop a systematic action plan that outlines the steps you need to achieve your goals. Once you do that, you'll have a formula, and once you have a formula, you ought to develop your mind and body to the point where you could easily handle it. That way, when you're actually in a game and under a lot of pressure, you'll be able to do it similarly without much effort. Because as we know, when you're under pressure, everything gets way harder. NBA players often talk about how they can make free throws in practices or on their own, but they miss them come game time. This is due, again, to the pressure that flows from the game. The replicability idea also applies in the reverse. When you know what works, it necessarily means that you know what doesn't work. This will help you dodge common pitfalls that obstruct your path and set you back. It is important to be able to deviate from your given formula if need be. Your formula isn't set in stone. It's just one provenly effective strategy that you can employ. When you study the formula for long enough, you'll be able to understand its shortcomings. You'll be able to understand when to use it and when not to. So be cognizant of that and have the skill and wisdom to change at a moment's notice. But his next match is against Team V. This match shows just how intense competition can lead both parties to a higher level of performance. Both Isagi and Nagi were leveling up as the game went on. Such awakenings wouldn't have occurred without the pressure to outperform the other. I talk about this more in my previous Blue Lock video, but when you're in truly pressurous situations, it calls on everything that you've trained for up until that point and pushes your mind to such extremes that it looks for ways to refine and improve on what it was previously capable of. This is because, in the moment, your mind sees the match as a battle for survival. And for Team Z in this match, it may as well have been that. So put yourself under pressure sometimes to not only test your mettle, but to force your mind to push beyond what it was previously capable of.
And in this chaos, no. It's because of this chaos. Because we drew it out of him. Our team lit the fire that stoked the dormant abilities of Seishiro Nagi. But that's the whole point of Blue Lock. We're not the only ones evolving.
The next key game is in his match against Rin. There's nothing much here to say, other than the fact that this match showed that there's much more to soccer and much more to improve on for Isagi. He had become a big fish in a small pond. This match showed that the world was opening up a bit, and that to win, he needs to take his games more seriously. The next key game is against Naruhaya and Baro. In this game, Isagi learns how to devour his opponents better. He learns from Rin and by analyzing Naruhaya that he can take advantage of people's blind spots and off-the-ball plays to score goals. Isagi is able to completely remake himself on the fly. That sort of adaptability is key to understand and really internalize in your own life. We often hear that we are special and that each of us has our own unique qualities that make us unique. And while there is certainly a strong truth to that, that doesn't change the fact that we are still largely similar. Now, you could interpret this as a point of sadness and sorrow, but I think it can also be a point of vigor and inspiration. What this means is that we can take the good traits from other people and incorporate them into our own lives. This makes you not only well-rounded, but extremely versatile. This also means that the main thing stopping you from beating your opponents is whether you are able to acquire and apply the knowledge that you gain better than they can. And this is exactly how Isagi was able to beat Naruhaya. He was more adaptable and able to devour his opponent more completely than Naruhaya was. We think of uniqueness as everyone having different capacities, but I think that it's more accurate to say that our uniqueness comes from the specific ways that we choose to apply the things that we are capable of. Everyone has a slightly different mix of genetics and experience that informs the way in which they express what they are capable of. So while we are all capable of chameleon-like adaptability, the ways in which we express that which we acquire is unique to each and every one of us. The next match against Chigiri, Kunigami, and Reo has a lot to do with using each other's strengths. It also shows us a specific way in which Isagi has evolved. Isagi has an understanding of off-ball plays now. This means that when he is on the ball, he has a more intimate understanding of what people are capable of doing off the ball. This is actually an important concept that can be applied to self-improvement. It isn't just obtaining knowledge that is important, but it is actively applying that knowledge. When you apply your knowledge, it increases your overall understanding of how things work. And when you understand things well, you can incorporate that into other parts of your life. Or in Isagi's case, other parts of his game. Now Isagi incorporates his spatial awareness with his ability to understand off-ball plays, and his vision is expanded tenfold. You see, learning about things doesn't have an additional impact, but often has a multiplying effect due to how things interact with each other. The things you learn aren't compartmentalized, and this is why improving incrementally in disparate areas has this ability to exponentially increase your overall abilities. A story I like to tell is about the British cycling team known as Team Sky. They were regarded as one of the worst cycling teams in the world. Prior to 2008, they were only able to win a single gold medal in their 76-year run. In 2002, they hired a man named Sir David Brailsworth to coach their team. Dave was a peculiar fellow as he had a background in both business and cycling. He decided to merge the two and incorporate what was called the theory of marginal gains. The theory of marginal gains is a simple business theory. It's the theory that if you improve every little aspect of the business, even just by 1%, exponential growth will be inevitable. In soccer, if you could increase your vertical just by 1%, if you can run faster just by 1%, if you can increase your accuracy just by 1%, the compounding effect will actually be closer to a 50% increase. When you spend time increasing your vertical jump by 1 inch, it makes you more explosive. That explosiveness can translate into your quickness and speed. And now since your tendons are more firm from that training, you're able to switch directions more quickly. This is an example of how increasing 1% can have compounding impacts on other areas. And this is because of the way everything is linked together. And this is actually what happens to Team Sky. They increase 1% of everything in their kit and they win gold in multiple events in the 2008 and 2012 Olympics. It was a phenomenal success. And this is why I stress becoming an avid learner in this video and many other videos. Always seek new information, improve, and think about the ways that that can be incorporated into your life. Read books, maybe even my own book, which comes out at the end of September. Pre-order links in the description. Watch video essays. Watch my own video essays. A source of knowledge that's often overlooked that I highly recommend is to look into traditions. Traditions often contain lost wisdom. This is because different time periods think about things differently due to the way that they were raised. The world has changed so much in the past 200 or so years, so reading about old thinkers can be very illuminating. Don't arrogantly think that you're better than everyone who came before you. C.S. Lewis called this chronological snobbery. Open the works with an open mind. Along with this, learn about fields in which you have no experience in. Learn as much as you can. As an aside, listening to audiobooks while doing other things is a broken strategy. Coming back to the BLUELOCK 3v3 match, we also learn about the nature of working together. Nagi, Baro, and Isagi don't cooperate well, but they have to work together because they are teammates. This highlights the reality of working with dissonant and uncooperative people. Towards the beginning of the match, Isagi ignores Baro's potential contributions and just plays off himself and Nagi. This helps them temporarily as they begin to evolve and create chemical reactions. As he passes to Nagi and watches him move, Isagi internalizes that it isn't just off-ball plays. He realizes that the subsequent and immediate on-ball plays are also things worth considering. Nagi similarly realizes that his touch can help him stop on a dime and change directions. This helps him outplay Chigiri and get their first goal. This, of course, also expands Isagi's vision. Isagi does realize that while this is good, it isn't enough to win the game. And with this realization, Isagi begins to use Baro as a decoy to open up opportunities for him and Nagi to score. Not only does this play against Baro's ego, but it actively makes him his pawn. But as we know, Baro's indefatigable temerity can't stand this. He starts to take things into his own hands. Baro devours Isagi's technique and uses him as a decoy. While this isn't exactly a conventional lesson on cooperation, it does show how people can be used in unique and uncomfortable ways in order to develop further. It shows us that when two large personalities crash, they have to figure out how to work together without compromising themselves. Even if, ironically, they work together in an antagonistic way. And ironically, the only reason they're able to do this is because they understand each other so well. And I think that's probably an important lesson for us. When we work with people, we ought to take notice and really try and understand them. This is also a lesson in playful banter. Isagi and Baro's interactions probably strike the average viewer as odd, as banter and trash talk is often discouraged if not downright demonized in society. Trash talking while playing and not taking it too seriously is a lost art. After Isagi uses Baro as a decoy, he tells him to get out of his way while calling him a loser. This was censored in the anime and he just calls him a donkey. But in fan translations, it's misquoted and exaggerated. In these translations, Isagi calls Baro a retard. I like the fan version the most. That's my own personal canon. Anyways, Isagi trash talks Baro and this motivates him to play better. The trash talk motivates Isagi to keep his word, and it motivates Baro to prove him wrong. It also builds toughness and resilience within Baro as he's not letting the words hurt him. After the game, Isagi ultimately admits that he respects Baro and he thinks that he's amazing. And Baro does something similar, only in a less explicit way. He begins to take an interest and liking to Isagi. He calls him by his first name and inquires about the kind of soccer that he wants to play. He wouldn't admit it, but he actually does have a newfound respect for Isagi. It reminds me of My Hero Academia and how Bakugo slowly starts to respect Deku. They even share those piercing scarlet eyes. But yeah, banter and even some rude talk is something that you have to use carefully, of course, but it can actually be used among mature men as a scrappy way to achieve positive ends. There's something Isagi says after the game that I believe is of powerful importance. After defeating the team, he tells Reo that he needs to be the one who chooses, not the one waiting to be chosen. The power of that statement is palpable. At face value, this could apply to us by saying that we have to be the boss of every enterprise that we work in. But I don't think that that's everything this statement is saying. Or perhaps I don't believe that that's everything this statement has to say. It is also saying that we should develop the skills to be able to choose for ourselves how we want to live. Have the skills to be so undeniable that you can control your outcomes. Boss doesn't like you? Well, you can easily leave and find somewhere else to work. Want to travel a lot? Well, you can use your skills to work remotely instead. In every situation, you are the one who has control and you are not relying solely on other people for your progression. For the final match of this season, we have a rematch between Isagi and Rin. One of the main points of the game was the fact that while Isagi was completely confused and outmatched before, now he's able to play against Rin as an equal. Every move that Rin makes, Isagi is able to understand. He's the only player whose brain functions as perspicaciously. Another thing we learn is that while Isagi and Rin have equal spatial awareness, a brain power, Rin has him beat in physical stats. This is a symphonic departure of how things are usually taught. Usually we hear about how the strong guys need brains, but in this game, we see how the smart guys actually need more brawn. It's only through the cultivation of both brain and brawn can you reach your optimum. Self-improvement frequently highlights the importance of lifting weights. Why is that? We live in a society where intellect is placed at a premium. So why is it that in the self-improvement niche, lifting weights is such a pertinent focus? I think that this is for two reasons. The first reason is because the mind and the body can diverge in important ways. We have a mental battery and a physical battery. When our mental battery is depleted, our physical battery can be used to continue the self-improvement cycle. The second reason is that the mind and the body converge in even more important ways. The body may bring healing to the mind, just as the mind can bring healing to the body. You can't actually compartmentalize the mind and the body. Such a union would require an entire video to even just scratch the surface. I do have a video on this topic as it pertains to esports. It's a good introduction. I also have a YouTube channel called Apolly Athletics where I go over specific training protocols. I also have some philosophical videos talking about self-improvement and exercise. Unfortunately, that channel has been terminated temporarily due to some hacking. I'm working to get it back, but the moment that I do, you can be sure that I'll link it in the description and comments of this video. Anyways, in the game, we are made known that Rin, due to his high soccer IQ and superior physicality, is able to have the entire field at his mercy. He's the puppeteer and all the players are his puppets. He has the eyes and the brains for complex tactics, and he has the physique to pull it off. Isagi is able to overcome this by further outsmarting him. He pushes his spatial awareness and soccer IQ to the point beyond even Rin, making up for the gap in physicality. This battle, really this entire match, proves just how much Isagi has improved. There wasn't a singular moment of revelation, but a series of small moments, a series of small wins that led him to being completely unrecognizable to where he was in the previous place. It's like going to the gym. You frequently develop in small ways. You don't notice the day-to-day progress. You only notice your progress when you compare your old photos to the new photos and notice the massive improvement. Self-improvement is the result of thousands of seemingly insignificant actions that when multiplied over time result in significant outcomes. Self-improvement isn't a moment of revelation, but a series of small wins that accumulate over time to completely reshape who you were before. However, I will caution you by saying that the changes don't happen as quickly as they do in BLUELOCK. I think Haikyuu probably more accurately demonstrates this concept. And that's where I'll end the video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you all next time. Peace.